I'm going to help you go from stuck, overwhelmed, full of FOMO to clear, confident in creating. You are just flooded. You're a channel for all of these ideas, but how do you manage like the stacking ideas and know which ideas should be pursued and which ones should be shelved and tabled, right? Like, so that overwhelm when you're constantly coming up with these ideas that fill you up and make you really excited, that initial like lightning bolt. A huge consequence of that is that you have so many ideas that you never get started on anything. And if you never get started on anything, then you're going to stay stuck in wherever you are right now. And the people that I'm talking to, like my people, are people who really would love to live an authentic life of creativity and have their lives and their livelihoods revolve around that creativity and have that be a core component. So if you are so creatively overwhelmed, if you have so many ideas and you never get started, then there's no way to move into that kind of lifestyle that's based off creativity, where you're making money from your creativity, not only making money, but making a living. You're making impact, right? Like you're reaching other people, and there's someone like you out there who doesn't know what to do with their lives because they like nothing feels right, and they're just like super creative, and that's all they want to do, but they think they're crazy, but then they see you and they're like, hey, I can do it. And that's a really beautiful gift to the world, in addition with your art and your crafts. Another thing about creative overwhelm is that you have constant FOMO, fear of missing out. You see all of these other people. We're so inundated these days with other creatives and creators who are quote unquote making it on social media. So how do we know if we're going down the correct route when there's all these other people with lots of followers and sponsorships, and they're making their money and they're doing their thing, and you can kind of see yourself doing something over here, but then you see someone else over there and you're like, I can kind of see that too. So that keeps you really stuck as well. The fear of missing out. There's also the second guessing. You second guess what, you take one little step forward. It might not make that much impact. You might not get any likes. You might, kind of like creating into the echo chamber. I've done that for a while in so many different ways, and it can be really confusing and intimidating and sometimes browbeating, but you still have to stick with it. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Another symptom of being creatively overwhelmed is no focus, shiny object syndrome. You make one little step, make a couple of moves on one project, and then again, you see something on social media or on YouTube and you're like, oh, look at that. That looks like a lot of fun and I should go pursue that. You want to be focused on something that feels really good to you. Why do you want to be focused on something? You need to get out of the story of creative overwhelm and lock into one thing that you can really commit to and move forward with over a long period of time. And you're watching this, you're like, yeah, I know, that's why I'm watching this, so help me. Stay with me for a second and I will give you some of the exercises that will help you do that. That's also going to help you get unstuck, because when you're paralyzed and overwhelmed, you're just stuck. You're just like in this, you're not taking any action whatsoever, and then you just like go Netflix and chill, right? I've been there. I've totally been there. I've totally done that. You want to be productive. You want to have that clarity, because when you have that clarity and that focus and that enthusiasm, you're going to feel productive. You're going to feel pulled forward. For the most part, there's going to be days where you're not going to be in love with your project. For the most part, that clarity will help you determine a strategy and an action plan, so that those days where you're not quite in love with it, you still know one tiny right step to take forward, or three tiny right steps to take forward. And sometimes it's one quantum leap forward, but usually it's the compound effect of a bunch of tiny right decisions every single day moving you forward to that one thing. So that is one huge advantage of getting unstuck. And then you want to feel like you're on a good path. The problem with being creatively overwhelmed and being almost paralyzed by all of those ideas is fear-based idea that you are doing something wrong, that you're going to choose the wrong path, that you're somehow going to screw it up. I invite you to leave that belief at the door and release it and understand that you can't screw it up, right? Like even every single little mistake is going to be filled with so much valuable information. I did a challenge last week around abundance, and one of the days was really feeling into gratitude for all of the quote unquote mistakes. And I've been really clear about, my first year of business was like do, and it felt really, really good. And then I got pregnant, my energy crashed, my revenue crashed, and I was just beating myself up over it all over and over and over again. And when I was feeling into the gratitude for the quote unquote mistakes, it was this beautiful feeling of like looking at that period of time and all the things that I learned and how I was able to readjust and reconnect with my mission. I just want to assure you that you're not on the wrong path. If you don't know me yet, my name is Erin Vazquez. I'm a master certified neurolinguistic programming coach, a hypnotherapist, and a timeline therapy practitioner. And my mission is to help creatives get the mental, spiritual, and business tools that they need to live an authentic and artistically aligned life without all the trauma and drama of this broke artist BS that has been romanticized for way too long. We are witnessing the shift into a new normal. And right now I am obsessed with helping you define your new normal at an individual level, with helping you be your own authority at an individual level. We're not asking for permission from anyone else anymore. We're deciding that we get to live life how we want to, and that it's okay and it's safe and it's acceptable and it's beautiful and valuable to be creative. That is what I am here for. That is what we are doing. And everything that's going on right now is really scary. And there's a lot of sadness. But if we live in the contradiction and the paradox, there's a lot of opportunity for the people who are willing to do the work, to give themselves the authority, to invest in themselves and figure out what is that going to look like. So how do you get from creatively overwhelmed and fear of missing out and feeling stuck and wondering if you're making a mistake or if you're even on the right path, to feeling completely focused and clear and excited and productive with an action plan and a strategy that's going to move you forward and give you the compound effects that will eventually deliver you into that authentically, artistically aligned life? Well, here are the exercises that I promised you. First of all, it's really important to manage your expectations. The expectation of like you find your purpose and then it's just like super easy from there and every day is just like blissful and you're living it like positive Instagram memes every second of your life. Connecting with your purpose, connecting with your creative passions in life, going after that authentically, artistically aligned life is not always going to be easy, and it doesn't happen overnight either. So you want to manage your expectations that there are going to be moments of joy and flow and breakthrough and creativity and focus and positive feedback. And there are going to be those days where it feels really scary and you feel really vulnerable and you'll be wondering, why are you even doing this in the first place? But I want to tell you right now that everyone you're looking up to has those moments of doubt, has that imposter syndrome, has that moment where they put something onto social media and it's like going into an echo chamber. It's going into a place where like no one responds. And it's really easy to start believing the lie that this isn't going to work. But you know what? Overnight successes take about 15 years on average to happen. Those people that you see with acclaim and audiences and are making their revenue and everything, they have been putting in their hours. They have had sleepless nights, moments of doubt, moments where they've wanted to give up, but the only way to fail is for you to give up. So I want to make that really, really clear for you. You have to decide that if you want this creatively abundant, aligned, and authentic life, you have to decide to stick with it no matter what. no matter what. That doesn't mean that you don't make adjustments. It doesn't mean that you aren't flexible. It just means that you show up for the dream every single day in whatever way that you can. This is for the people who are willing to do the work that a lot of people aren't willing to do, so that you can live the life that a lot of people are going to be unable to live. And that's what it's going to take. So make that decision. Set those expectations for yourself. And after a while, you'll learn to manage your emotions around fear or disappointment, and it won't feel so heavy. It won't feel so devastating. It'll feel more like, okay, well, I wonder what I can learn from this one. What do I need to adjust? 3 weeks ago, when I started these live streams and started posting them on YouTube, the analytics came back that people were hopping off after about 30 seconds. And I think probably about 2 years ago, that would have made me stop. But I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You got to hook people. So I reformatted, edited better, started making adjustments, and you start seeing that in the numbers. And if you don't have that knowledge, if you don't have that insight, you seek it out from somebody else. You find someone who's doing what you want to do on YouTube or whatever it is, and go get that strategic knowledge from them. Now, the other things that I want you to do to start focusing creatively so that you can focus on that one thing. Also remember that all of those other creative ideas that come up for you, just because you don't pursue them right now, it doesn't mean that they're gone. Just keep a folder or a notes document, whatever it is, and keep them there, because they'll be ready for you when you're ready. I want to ask you a couple of questions that might clarify a couple of things for you. When you deep dive into these questions, I invite you to be in a state of honesty, of wonder, and that little voice that goes on like, yeah, but you can't do that. Yeah, but that one person said to you one time, yeah, but look at that, that's going to be too hard. I invite you to be in a place where you can actually turn off that voice. And if you need it, I have a free meditation. Just leave me a comment if you need it, and I'll send it to you. If it's a meditation to release anxiety and connect with your creativity, it's only 10 minutes. It'll get you into that place so you can answer these questions from a really beautiful, aligned place. The first question I would ask you is, if you stopped worrying about the how and what success is going to look like, what would you do? What would you do? If you knew that you were going to be successful no matter what you would do, what would you do? And again, please answer this from a state of faith. If you hear those little voices saying like, yeah, but you can't, yeah, but you can't, you know, all of that, that is just your brain running old patterns. It's not the truth. You'll let that shit go, okay? Another question that I would ask you to ask yourself, if you knew you were going to die in 2 years, and I know this is a little heavy, but this is important, you guys, because this is not a dress rehearsal. We are seeing this in a really profound way right now. If you knew you were going to die in 2 years, what would you regret not doing? What would be the thing that you'd be like, why didn't I do that? And feel into it. It should feel a little bit intense. What would you regret doing? Continuing doing? What relationships? What stories you're telling yourself? These stories about you can't, yeah, but you can't, yeah, but you can't. Would you regret telling yourself those stories? What would fill you with the most joy? Being completely honest with yourself, not trying to please your parents, your kids, your spouse, your society. What would fill you with the most joy? Would it be to buy a camper van and a Polaroid camera and just take Polaroids of a bunch of random shit and make an Instagram account off of that? Is that it? I mean, be totally honest with yourself. Would it be to move to Hollywood and try to be the next Leonardo DiCaprio? Is that it? Be completely honest with yourself. And then all of these little voices here say, I love you, I appreciate you, and I'm going to let you go now. What loses its meaning? If you think if you're going to pass away in 2 years, what loses its meaning? What loses the drama and the story around it? For me, when I think about that, I was a little bit uptight before coming out here because the kitchen is messy. Who cares if the kitchen is messy before I go do a live stream? It doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of things, that's not what matters. What matters is showing up for myself, showing up for you guys, and showing up for my family. Once that passion and that spark is revealed to you, what do you do about it? Well, this is what you do about it. Instead of wondering what others are going to think or being worried about criticism, that thing that has been revealed to you, start getting obsessed with getting really good at it. Just enjoy being in that craft, in that practice, and wondering how can you get better at it? How can you be more joy filled while you do it? Where do you have room for improvement? Get really curious about that instead of curious about what other people are going to think about you. And then instead of looking at others further in the journey, or with more followers or more success or more acclaim, with jealousy or envy or any kind of like those shadow emotions, I invite you to change all of that jealousy into curiosity. Like, wow, look at what they did. I wonder what actions they're taking or what practices they're in. That would be really easy for me to copy and replicate right now, and see what happens. Just see what happens. There's no harm in doing it. And know that, and remember that every single overnight success probably takes at least 15 years to happen, okay? So if you try doing something that one of your predecessors is doing and you don't get 1,000 likes on a post, you have to keep going. You also get to start doing the scary thing and putting yourself out there. Let people know what you're all about. And as you do that, as you show your journey and share that journey with other people, the right people are going to start connecting with you. And think about like your favorite independent band, like that you knew before they all blew up. We all know that person who like knew about Coldplay before they all blew up, right? That's the way they're going to be about you and your art. Oh, I was with them when they had 100 followers. So, you know, and love those people, nurture those people who are there with you at the beginning of your journey, and show your journey, share your journey from a place of authenticity. People will connect with that. Like I said at the beginning of this, remember that as a creative, you have the power and the ability to make a really great impact on someone else who's sitting there wondering, like, what do I do with my life? I feel like a fish out of water. I want to do this thing. It doesn't make sense. And they have nothing to look at, to look up to inspire them to take that first step into faith out of fear and live authentically aligned with their soul. So remember that. That is really powerful, and the world really needs it right now. Again, you have to stick with it. You have to stick with it. There's no two ways about it. There's no magic pill, you guys. Anyone's selling the magic pill, you gotta second guess them. There is hard work that goes into it. But when you're connected with that vision for yourself of the creatively authentic and aligned life, then you know that you're doing the right thing, even when it's the difficult thing, even when it's doesn't make sense, even when it's not easy, when it's not fun. It's way better than living a life where you're small, where you're stuck, where you're in a story of, I can't do this. You can be in a story of like, what if I can do this? What if I can overcome this obstacle? What if I did get better in this way? What if I could achieve this little goal, and give yourself those little wins along the way. All right. So make the commitment to yourself. Saying you're creatively overwhelmed is a story that you're telling yourself. You get to start telling yourself a new story. And I hope you find these exercises that I gave you as a really valuable tool to help you tell the new story, a new empowered story of you becoming creatively free and flowing and focused and productive. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Be well, be safe, be healthy, be kind to yourself and to others. Bye.